What is the name of the topic? And I've already told you what is coordination. In chemical control, when multiple organs are working together, they work in a synchronized manner. And that synchronization is called as coordination. Okay? And there are two coordinators. One is the neural system, the other is the endocrine system. So in the neural system, we have the CNS. That is the central nervous system. Okay, that is the CNS. Why is it called the central nervous system? Why do we call it central? Yes, Anushka. Okay, so with respect to functions, it is like the central processing unit, CPU of your computer. Central processing unit. It receives all the information, stores it, gives out the command. So काम करने के हिसाब से वो कैसा है? Central है, मतलब very important. Even if you look at the location, you'll see that the central nervous system is made up of two parts. What is the brain? And what is the other part which look? Spinal cord. They together form the CNS. Now where are they located? Then in the human body, they are located on the mid-dorsal side. Mid-dorsal. Mid मतलब बीच में, central. Okay? Dorsally but central. Okay? That is why, with respect to the location as well as with respect to the function, it is called as the central processing unit. समझा उसको क्या कहेंगे? क्या कहेंगे उसको? Central processing unit. Because it is central with respect to its location and it is central with respect to its functions. Clear everyone? And there is another division of your nervous system which is called the peripheral nervous system, or in short it is called as the PNS. Look at the arrows. There is an arrow going into the CNS, there is an arrow coming out of the CNS. With those two arrows, I am trying to show you that the peripheral nervous system consists of two types of fibers: afferent fibers and the efferent fibers. The afferent fibers are the sensory fibers, and the efferent fibers are the motor fibers. Matlab, from the brain and the spinal cord arise many wires. Some of them, they carry information into the CNS. They are called as afferent. And others, they carry the signal away from the CNS. And they are called as what? Efferent. So what are the two types of fibers? Afferent fibers and efferent fibers. Afferent matlab they carry the signals from the organ to the CNS. And efferent or motor are the ones which will carry the signal from the CNS towards the organs. Did you get the meaning of the word Uchalo? Yes. Okay. The peripheral nervous system consists of two further divisions. PNS consists of the sensory division and the which division? Motor division. So all the afferent fibers will be a part of which division? Sensory. And the efferent motor. Okay? Now, the peripheral nervous system consists of, you see these wires? Yes. I call them as what? Nerves. Okay? when there is a network of nerves, there is a lot of branching of these nerves, then that is called as a nerve plexus. That is called plexus matlab guchha. So when we had taught you excretion, that time we have seen glomerulus. Glomerulus is also a plexus of blood capillaries. And this is the plexus of what, Muchalo? Nerve. Along with that, there is a collection of cytons. And the collection of cytons is called as a ganglion. Okay? So peripheral nervous system पे आपको क्या दिखेंगे? You will see the presence of many nerves. You will see the presence of ganglions. And you will see what nerve? Plexus. Collection of cytons within the CNS is called what? Nuclei. Similarly, nerves within the CNS are called nerve tracts. Okay? What are nerves within the CNS called? Nerve tracts. Did you get my point?
Yes.
What are the collection of cytons in the CNS called? And collection of cytons outside the CNS is called? Ganglion. So what are the two parts of the peripheral nervous system? Sensory division carrying information in. Motor division carrying information out. This sensory division consists of afferent or efferent fibers? Afferent fibers. And they carry the information from your receptors. Receptors like your eyes, ears, skin, then your muscles, then your visceral organs. From all these parts, the information is taken towards whom? Yes. Okay? So all the afferent fibers that arise and take information from receptors and the muscles and the viscera towards the central nervous system, all that sensory division is a part of which nervous system? Peripheral nervous system. What my point?
Yes.
So if you remember, you have a visceral organ which is called as the urinary bladder.
Yes.
The urinary bladder has got stretch receptors.
Yes.
And the signal from the stretch receptors goes to your
Yes.
by which division? Peripheral nervous system ka sensory division. Do you agree with this now?
Yes.
And the motor division consists of which fibers? Efferent fibers. And they carry the information from the CNS towards the organs. Okay? Now it consists of two parts. One will be the somatic neural system, and the second is called as the autonomous nervous system. What is the similarity between both of them? That they are what? But they will consist only of which fibers?
Efferent fibers.
But the difference is the somatic neural system consists of the voluntary division. Voluntary मतलब जो अपने will के हिसाब से, जो अपने इच्छा के हिसाब से काम करता है. So that will include the signals from the CNS towards your which muscles बच्चों? Skeletal muscles. Okay. So if I am waving my hand towards you, is it a voluntary action or involuntary action?
Voluntary action.
Okay. So there are motor areas in your brain.
Yes.
Through the which division? And which fibers?
Efferent fibers.
They're sending a signal to your bicep and your shoulder muscles. That is why I'm waving my hand towards you. बराबर है? That is why we say that it's a somatic neural, which is a motor division. The autonomic division consists of which activities? Involuntary activities. From the CNS towards your which muscles? Smooth muscles. As well as your which organs? Visceral organs. as well as your glands. Okay, like your salivary gland or your sweat gland, all those glands. Clear, guys, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Now, if you remember, I have told you this that the autonomous nervous system consists of two divisions, which are called sympathetic and what would you know? Parasympathetic. What are the two divisions, kids? And याद है ये? Which division prepares you for action? Sympathetic. That is why it is called as which word, which know? It is called fight or it is called flight. And parasympathetic division is called as the rest and digest. Adrenal gland के टाइप इसके बारे में मैंने बताया. समझ में आया मेरी बात? NCERT says that the visceral nervous system is a part of peripheral nervous system, and this visceral nervous system consists of nerves, ganglions, and plexuses. तीनों वर्ड समझा? Nerves, ganglions, and plexuses. Now my question is, the visceral nervous system, will it be sensory, will it be motor, or will it be both? Both. It will be afferent fibers which carry signals from the viscera to the CNS, as well as it will be efferent carrying from the CNS to the organs. Like in this example, urinary bladder पे क्या है? Stress receptors. वो signal किसको भेजते हैं?
CNS.
फिर CNS through which fibers बच्चों? Motor fibers will send a signal to your sphincters and your urinary bladder for micturition. आया ना? Clear है visceral का मतलब?
Yes.
So visceral neural system is a part of which neural system?
Peripheral.
Peripheral nervous system. So अगर हमको कोई पूछता है कि सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम में कौन आता है, तो हम बोलेंगे ब्रेन एंड स्पाइनल कॉर्ड. पेरिफेरल नर्वस सिस्टम में कौन आता है, वो दोनों को छोड़ के सब, जिसमें कौन आता है, नर्व्स, गैंग्लियन, प्लेक्सस. फिर उनके फंक्शन के हिसाब से पेरिफेरल को कितने पार्ट्स में डिवाइड करेंगे? दो पार्ट्स में. जो हाईवे इंफॉर्मेशन ब्रेन के अंदर लेके जाएगा उसको क्या कहेंगे? सेंसरी. बाहर ले जाएगा उसको बोलेंगे मोटर. मोटर में भी कितने डिवीजन के? दो. जो वॉलंटरी है उसको सोमैटिक और इनवॉलंटरी है उसको बोला ऑटोनॉमिक. क्लियर एवरीवन? आपको न्यूरॉन याद है? रिवाइज करने की जरूरत है? याद है सबको? हाँ? कौन बोल रहा है रिवाइज? अरे बोलो रिवाइज. किसको रिवाइज करने की जरूरत है? स्कूल टीचर से सर डांटूंगा नहीं मैं. बोलो किसको रिवाइज करने की जरूरत है? हाँ ओके चलो ध्यान दो ना. एक टिपिकल न्यूरॉन में क्या होता है? को ध्यान तो बलून मुल्ला ध्यान दे रहा है. जब से आया उससे मोटा ही होते जा रहा है. चलो ये छोटे छोटे बातें याद है तुम लोग को? हाँ क्या पूछो तो कौन सा? A neuron is made up of three parts. The main body of the neuron, cytosol. The single long fiber, the smaller branches, okay. The cytosol around the nucleus, the darkly stained granules, which are called Nissel's granules. Are they found in the cytosol? Yes. In the dendron? Yes. In the axon? No. What is the membrane of the axon called? Exolemma. The exolemma can be covered by the caps are called as the. It is covered by a membrane called neurilemma, and the cells called as the Schwann cells. Are Schwann cells found only in myelinated neuron? No, they are found in both myelinated as well as non-myelinated. This is called as the axon terminal. This is called as the axon nos. Vesicles, याद आया? Containing neurotransmitters. फिर बताया था कि the neuron can be unipolar, bipolar or multipolar. Where are the multipolar neuron forms? Cerebrum, cerebral cortex, bipolar, retina of the eye. And where are the unipolar found? Embryonic stages. सुनीत को भी पढ़ना पड़ रहा है, नहीं थी अभी है लेकिन हाँ चलो लिख लो फटाफट. Parts. What are the other two parts? Axon and dendrites. Correct. So let us consider this to be the axon. What is the membrane of the axon called? Axon. And the fluid inside the axolemma is called as the intracellular fluid, and the fluid outside is called as the extracellular fluid. Okay? So what we do is we put a microelectrode into the intracellular fluid and connect it to a voltmeter. And what we find is that the needle will deflect to minus 70 millivolts, which shows that the intracellular fluid is negatively charged and the extracellular fluid is positively charged. Okay? So it is negatively charged inside and positively charged outside. And the charge is how much? Minus 70 volts. This is called the polarized state or the resting membrane potential. It's in a polarized state, or we call that polarized state as the resting membrane potential. And the resting membrane potential is how much? It is minus 70 millivolts. Okay? So already your neuron is in a which state? Polarized state. And that is what makes it an excitable cell. Okay? So remember this line in the NCERT text that the neurons are excitable cells because they are already in a polarized state. Okay? So when सीधे नहीं क्या चल रहा है, ध्यान देना जो सीधा भाजी क्या कर रही है, अपना वो करेगी ना, अपना काम कर तू. So what do you mean by polarized? Resting membrane potential. So if I say right now, okay, the class is polarized into two groups. One is feminist, the other is misogynist. एक ग्रुप है फेमिनिस्ट, फीमेल सपोर्टर्स, एक है मेल सपोर्टर्स. तो ये क्लास न्यूट्रल है कि पोलराइज्ड है? पोलराइज्ड. तो एक नेता आया और उसने भड़का भाषण किया, गर्ल्स वर्सेस बॉयज वाला. तो आपस में झगड़ा हो गया, मारपीट हो गई और एक दूसरे के घर वाले जला दिए. तो ये जो जनता थी, नॉर्मल जनता थी, एकदम एक्साइटेड हो गई. क्यों एक्साइटेड हो गई? क्योंकि वो लोग ऑलरेडी क्या थे? पोलराइज्ड थे. अगर वो न्यूट्रल होते थे तो कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ता था. तो क्या वो लोग झगड़ा करते थे आपस में? तो न्यूरॉन ऑलरेडी कौन से स्टेट में,
Polarized.
जिसकी वजह से क्या हो जाता है, एक्साइटेबल हो जाता है। तो ये लाइन समझ में आया आप सबको, फिर इसी को आगे को डिस्क्राइब करना कि the neurons are excitable cells and they are in which state, polarized. Did you understand what is the polarized state?
Yes.
Outside is electropositive, inside is electronegative, and that electronegativity is around -70 millivolts, which is called as the resting membrane potential. Clear everyone?
Yes.
Now we'll look at the different reasons that make the exolemma polarized or make the neuron polarized. Okay? The first reason is the presence of ion channels on the exolemma. Okay? Do you remember the exolemma? Now this exolemma shows the presence of ion channels. Okay? These are called leakage channels. The one which I have shown in the diagram. Because on these channels, such gates, see the gate bachlo? Such gates are absent. So that is why I am calling these channels as which channels? Leakage channels. And the leakage channels on the exolemma are of two types. They are potassium and sodium leakage ion channels. From here you can see that the potassium leakage channels are more than the sodium leakage channels. I have shown 3 K plus channels and only 1 Na plus channel. So which ion channels, leakage channels are more? K plus. And they are more leakier than the sodium channels. So that is why the NCERT says that the exolemma is freely permeable to K plus but nearly impermeable to Na plus. It is freely permeable to K plus but nearly impermeable to Na plus. So now in the intracellular fluid कौन सा आयन ज्यादा होगा? K plus. And extracellular fluid में कौन ज्यादा होगा? Na plus. कि Na plus ज्यादा अंदर नहीं आ पाएगा, बराबर है कि नहीं? So जरा नंबर्स में डाल दो उसको। अंदर अगर 10 K plus है तो बाहर 1 K plus है। तो अंदर K plus is ज्यादा, बाहर comparatively K plus is कम। Inside sodium is less, outside sodium is more. So अंदर अगर 1 सोडियम है तो बाहर कितने सोडियम है? 30। और आप देखोगे सोडियम एज वेल एज पोटेशियम दोनों भी पॉजिटिवली चार्ज आयन्स है, लेकिन बाहर का सोडियम अंदर के पोटेशियम से कई गुना ज्यादा है। बाहर का सोडियम अंदर के पोटेशियम से कई गुना ज्यादा है। बाहर कौन ज्यादा है? सोडियम। अंदर कौन ज्यादा है? लेकिन बाहर का सोडियम अंदर के पोटेशियम से कई गुना, तो पॉजिटिविटी ज्यादा कहां रहेगी? बाहर की तरफ। As a result of which outside it will be electro positive, inside it will be electro negative. Okay, so these ion channels, these leakage channels, they create the resting membrane potential. So ये resting membrane potential का मतलब क्या है कि your neuron is already at which state? Polarized state of minus 70 millivolts because of the presence of leakage channels of K plus and Na plus, where Na plus outside is much more than K plus inside. So outside becomes electropositive and inside becomes electronegative. Now the second reason is that if you see, and you already know that the ions have a tendency to move from their higher concentration to their lower concentration. So the tendency of sodium will be to move from ECF into ICF, and the tendency of K plus will be to move from ICF into the ECF. Okay, that is the natural tendency of ions to move from higher concentration to lower concentration. But if such a condition occurs, then don't you think the resting membrane potential will get disturbed?
Yes.
समझ में आ मेरा बात? So in order to prevent that, in order to maintain the resting membrane potential, there is a sodium potassium pump. That is, on the exolemma, there is a protein. Pumps are protein. From cell structure, you know that. This protein pumps out 3 Na plus for every 2 K plus taken inside. Okay? What does this pump do? This pump causes the efflux. It throws out 3 Na plus for every 2 K plus taken inside. Did my class look at this point, everyone?
Yes.
Yes or no? So my question is, this pump is working along the gradient or against the gradient? Gradient क्या था? सोडियम आना चाहिए था अंदर, पोटेशियम जाना चाहिए था। ये उल्टा करता है, सोडियम को और बाहर भेजता है, पोटेशियम को और अंदर लेता है। So that is why it is using what which लोग ATP, because it is working against the gradient in order to maintain the resting membrane potential. So there was a question asked in PMT a few years ago that if the sodium potassium pump is allowed to work along the gradient, then what would be the direction of the movement of ions? Na plus will come inside, K plus will go outside. If the pump starts working along the gradient, but right now the pump is working against the gradient, so there will be an efflux of 3 Na for every 2 influx of K plus. I hope you get my point, everyone. And the third reason is the exolemma is impermeable to negatively charged proteins. The exolemma is impermeable to negatively charged proteins. So how many reasons are there, kids? 3. So what are the 3 reasons that make a neuron polarized? First, on the exolemma there are ion channels of K plus and Na plus, where the K plus is much more in number and permeability than Na plus. तो अंदर K plus ज्यादा, बाहर Na plus ज्यादा, बाहर का Na plus K plus से कई गुना ज्यादा, बाहर पॉजिटिव अंदर नेगेटिव। फिर दूसरा एक प्रोटीन है सोडियम पोटेशियम पंप, जो एनर्जी खर्चा कर करके बाहर रखता है पॉजिटिविटी, अंदर रखता है नेगेटिविटी। और एक्सोलेमा का नेचर ऐसा है, कोई नेगेटिवली चार्ज प्रोटीन्स को बाहर जाने नहीं देता। समझा सबको पोलराइज्ड स्टेट? So we'll move on to the next state. That is called as the depolarized state. Or depolarized state is also called as action potential, or in other words, I can call it as what? Excitation. So what is the second stage you are talking about? Depolarized state or action potential or excitation. This is the axon with the axon lemma. Outside is electro positive, inside is electro
Negative.
but when there is a stimulus, you know what is a stimulus?
Yes.
Change is called as a stimulus. Because of the stimulus, inside becomes electro positive and outside becomes electro
Negative.
तो ये जो हमारी नीडल थी -70 पे थी, मतलब वो क्या दिखा रहा था अंदर इलेक्ट्रो। अब मैंने सिचुएशन को चेंज कर दिया, अंदर क्या कर दिया मैंने, मतलब जो नीडल है वो डिफ्लेक्ट होके +30 मिलीवोल्ट्स पे चले जाता है और इस स्टेट को हम लोग बोलते हैं, दिस स्टेट इज कॉल्ड एज द स्टेट ऑफ एक्शन पोटेंशियल where the value inside will be around +30 millivolts, and that state is a state where outside there is electro negative, inside there is electro
Positive.
and this state is said to be which state, which low? Depolarized state or action potential or the state of excitation. Shall I continue?
Yes.
Okay. Now let us see how this state comes. So there is a stimulus. It could be you touching a hot stuff, you touching a hot object is a stimulus. Okay? Because of the stimulus, on the axial lemma, there are some ion channels. Okay? These are called mechanically gated sodium channels. Okay? We need to understand them. This is not given in the NCERT text, but this will help us to understand the further process. These are mechanically gated which channels? Sodium channels. Stimulus की वजह से ये mechanically gated sodium channels जो होते हैं वो open हो जाते हैं. As a result of which थोड़ा सा little influx of sodium takes place. थोड़ा सा मतलब ज्यादा नहीं, मतलब थोड़ी सी परमिएबिलिटी सोडियम की तरफ कम हो गई, बढ़ गई, बढ़ गई, तो थोड़ा सा सोडियम अंदर आया, मतलब अंदर पॉजिटिविटी कम हो जाएगी, बढ़ जाएगी, बढ़ जाएगी. As a result of it, the needle will go from -70 to -90 or it will go towards positive. So it will start coming towards zero, and as soon as it reaches -55 millivolts. So can I say there is a change in voltage? Initially it was resting at -70, but because of the stimulus, mechanically gated sodium channels opened, and there was a huge or a little influx of sodium, little influx of sodium, because of which the needle deflected to how much? -55 millivolts. So can I say there is a change in the potential?
Yes.
Okay. So little influx of sodium causes a change in the voltage potential to -55 millivolts, because of which the voltage gated sodium channels will open. अब एक दूसरे टाइप के चैनल्स है जिनको हम कहते हैं कि ये कौन से चैनल्स है? वोल्टेज गेटेड सोडियम चैनल्स है. ये तब खुलते हैं जब चेंज इन क्या हो? वोल्टेज हो. तो थोड़ा सा सोडियम अंदर आने की वजह से वोल्टेज के अंदर क्या आ गया? चेंज आ गया. पहले रेस्टिंग में कितना था? -70. थोड़ा सा सोडियम अंदर आया मतलब कितना हो गया? -55. अब वोल्टेज में चेंज होने की वजह से ये वोल्टेज गेटेड सोडियम चैनल अचानक से क्या हो गए? खुल गए, एंड देयर इज अ ह्यूज इन्फ्लक्स ऑफ सोडियम. क्या बोला मैंने? देयर इज अ ह्यूज इन्फ्लक्स ऑफ सोडियम. So voltage gated sodium channels will open, and that will cause a huge influx of Na plus. So अगर बहुत सारा Na plus अगर अंदर आता है तो अंदर कौन सा चार्ज डेवलप हो जाएगा? Positive charge. And the needle from minus 55 will go to how much low? Plus 30 millivolts, and that is called as the action potential or depolarization. So if you are asked who is responsible for depolarization, you say that the depolarization is caused due to the what bachalo influx of Na plus. And at this time, what has happened is the sodium potassium pump has temporarily what bachalo stopped. आया बात समझ में? अभी हम बोल सकते हैं कि थोड़े टाइम के लिए क्या हो चुका है? सोडियम पोटेशियम पंप थोड़ी देर के लिए क्या हो चुका है? स्टॉप हो चुका है. आया बात समझ में? So what causes the action potential? Influx of sodium due to the opening of the voltage gated channels of sodium, and the needle is deflected how much bachalo? Plus 30 millivolts. Did you understand the action potential?
Yes.
The third state is which state? It is called as the repolarized state. ये state को repolarized state. And in this repolarized state, once again, outside will become electro positive and inside will become electro negative, and the needle will come back from plus 30, it will go back to how much below? Minus 70 millivolts, and that state will be called as which state? The state of repolarization. Okay? Now, what are the reasons for that? Number one, the stimulus induced permeability to sodium ions is short-lived. स्टिमुलस की वजह से सोडियम आयंस की परमिएबिलिटी कम हो गई थी, बढ़ गई थी? बढ़ गई थी. पहले इम्परमिएबल था, वो नियरली इम्परमिएबल. देखो मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा है एक्सोलेम्मा इज फ्रीली परमिएबल टू K plus but nearly impermeable to Na plus. But because of the stimulus, voltage gated sodium channel had opened, causing the huge influx of Na plus. तो थोड़े देर के लिए Na plus की जो permeability है वो कम हो गई थी, बढ़ गई थी, but it is very short lived. मतलब वो ज्यादा टाइम तक खुले नहीं रहते गेट्स. तो गेट्स क्या हो जाते हैं? बंद हो जाते हैं. तो ये जो नीडल है क्या वो प्लस 30 से प्लस 90 जाएगा? नहीं, क्योंकि उतना सोडियम अंदर नहीं आ पाता. I hope you got my point. The first reason is कि stimulus induced, stimulus की वजह से the permeability to sodium ions is short-lived. Voltage gated channels of Na will get closed. No more Na can come inside. Is this point clear, everyone?
Yes.
And the other thing is that what will happen is the voltage gated K plus channels जो अभी तक बंद थे, they will open. So see what will happen. This is the exolemma. These are the K plus channels. अभी तक वो K plus channel ऐसे बंद थे, लेकिन प्लस 30 पे जाने की वजह से वो चैनल्स क्या हो गए? ओपन हो गए, जिसकी वजह से there is a huge influx. दिखा रहा हूं कि efflux. As a result of which there is a huge efflux of K plus. मतलब अंदर के पॉजिटिव चार्ज कहां जा रहे हैं? बाहर. तो धीरे धीरे बाहर क्या बढ़ेगा? पॉजिटिव चार्जेस. और अंदर कौन से बढ़ेंगे? अंदर कौन ज्यादा था? K plus बढ़ चुका था, बराबर है. तो जैसे ही ये गेट्स खुल गए, अंदर का कौन सा आयन? K plus कहां गया? बाहर जाने को इन्फ्लक्स कहते हैं कि इफ्लक्स कहते हैं? सो ड्यू टू द इफ्लक्स ऑफ K plus, bar will become positive, other will become negative, and this will say that this is called as repolarization. So repolarization is caused by influx or efflux of K plus, and depolarization is caused by the influx of Na plus. So which ion is responsible for depolarization? Na plus का अंदर आना, and which is responsible for repolarization? K plus का बाहर जाना. जब भी K plus अंदर से जाएगा बाहर, तो अंदर की पॉजिटिव चार्जेस कम हो गई और बाहर की पॉजिटिव चार्जेस बढ़ गई, तो बाहर की पॉजिटिव इनसाइड विल बी नेगेटिव. बट डोंट यू थिंक इसके से आयन का कंसंट्रेशन डिस्टर्ब हो चुका है? अभी K plus भी बाहर ज्यादा हो गया, बट नाउ द सोडियम potassium pump will restart. And what will the pump do? It will pump out 3 Na plus, take it to K plus, as a result of which everything will become normalized. Okay? So, what are the 3 stages it is going through? Polarized state, depolarized state, and the repolarized state. So, let us bring all the states together. This is what you know? Axon with the exolemma. It is covered by a fatty tissue which is called as binding sheath. What are the gaps in between which are called? Nodes of Ranvier. Outside which charge? Positive charge. Inside which charge? Negative charge. बराबर? कौन हिट किया यहाँ पे बच्चों? स्टिमुलस. स्टिमुलस की वजह से पहले कौन सी गेट्स खुले? मैकेनिकली गेटेड सोडियम चैनल्स, जिसके से थोड़ा सा सोडियम अंदर आया. फिर कौन सी गेट्स खुल गई? वोल्टेज गेटेड सोडियम चैनल्स. तो बहुत सारा सोडियम अंदर आया. कहाँ अंदर आया? एक्सोलेमा के अंदर आया. एज अ रिजल्ट ऑफ विच ये जो नोड ऑफ रैनवियर ए है वो अंदर क्या हो जाएगा? पॉजिटिव, और बाहर क्या हो जाएगा? इसी स्टेट को हम लोग कौन सा स्टेट कहते हैं? स्टेट ऑफ डीपोलराइजेशन. लेकिन बाकी के जो नोड्स है वो वैसे के वैसे ही है, पोलराइज्ड. ओके, सो दिस इज द इलेक्ट्रिकल डिस्टर्बेंस that occurs on node of Ranvier A. Okay, and the charges, negative charge attract the positive charges, so that also disturbs the next node of Ranvier. Exchange of charges will take place, and now the slot A will go back to repolarize, but the slot B will become depolarized, and the slot C will be as it is, it will be polarized. What will happen in the next millisecond? The C will become depolarized. C will become what? Depolarized, and B will become repolarized, and D will be as it is. So the action potential, what is the other name for action potential? Read there, depolarized. What is the third name for it? Excitation. Does it remain there or does it move forward? Who is moving forward? Action potential or excitation or depolarization. Can I say it moves along the exolemma, and that is called as a nerve signal, or it is called as a nerve impulse, which is an electrochemical signal. It is not an electrical signal. In electrical signal, electrons move along the wire. It is not electrical signal, it is an electrochemical signal where the action potential is conducted forward due to sodium and potassium ions. Did you get my point? So if I touch a hot object, my skin has got neurons. These neurons will undergo action potential. which will be carried to my central nervous system. That will send another action potential to the motor neuron at the neuromuscular junction. Acetylcholine, sliding filament theory, muscle will contract. If you put a chocolate on your tongue has got neurons. The neurons will undergo action potential because of the sugar. The action potential will go to your CNS will send an action potential to your glands. Glands will open up and your mouth will become full of saliva. जब आप कोई आवाज सुन रहे हो तो sound waves go into the ear, they hit the neurons, the neurons will undergo action potential and the action potential goes to your brain. So does the sound reach the brain? No. What reaches the brain? Does the sweetness of the chocolate reach the brain? Does the light reach the brain? So what reaches the brain? And the brain also reacts in the form of what? Action potential, which are called as nerve impulses. Okay. So how many stages does the exolemma go through, guys? 3 stages. What are the 3 stages? The first stage is called polarized state. The second state is called depolarized state. And the third stage is called repolarized state. Okay. What about the LKC? That is leakage channels. Then sodium, potassium pump, voltage gated channels of sodium and voltage gated channels of potassium. कौन सा स्टेट है? पोलराइज्ड स्टेट. लीकेज चैनल्स ओपन है कि क्लोज है? ओपन है पोलराइज्ड स्टेट में. सोडियम पोटेशियम पंप भी चालू है. वोल्टेज गेटेड चैनल्स ऑफ सोडियम बंद है. ये भी बंद है. डीपोलराइजेशन में लीकेज चैनल्स वो लीकेज है, वो हमेशा ओपन ही रहेंगे. सोडियम पोटेशियम पंप बंद है. वोल्टेज चैनल चालू है. ये चालू ही रहेगा. ये चालू हो गया, ये बंद हो गया, ये चालू हो गया. एमसीक्यूज में काम आएगा कि रीपोलराइज्ड स्टेट में वोल्टेज गेटेड चैनल्स ऑफ पोटेशियम खुल जाते हैं, जिसकी वजह से देयर इज इफ्लक्स ऑफ K+. और डीपोलराइजेशन में वोल्टेज गेटेड चैनल्स ऑफ सोडियम खुल जाते हैं, जिसकी वजह से देयर इज इन्फ्लक्स ऑफ सोडियम. मिस्टेक नहीं करेंगे ना अभी इसमें. मतलब तो फिलहाल उसको पूरा समझ में आ गया है.